Edward Jenner noticed what Gloucestershire farmers already knew: milkmaids who caught cowpox rarely got smallpox. In 1796, he tested the observation directly. He took material from a milkmaid's cowpox blister and inoculated a healthy 8-year-old boy. Then he exposed the boy to smallpox. The boy did not get sick. Vaccination had been invented. What Jenner did would be considered unethical today, deliberately exposing a child to a potentially fatal disease. But in 1796, smallpox killed or disfigured 1 in 3 people it infected. Jenner's experiment was dangerous. It was also right. The boy's immunity held. Jenner repeated the experiment. It held again. Smallpox was the most feared disease in human history, killing 300 million people in the 20th century alone. It disfigured survivors. It killed kings and children indiscriminately. Jenner's vaccine was the first weapon capable of fighting it. Within 3 years of his 1798 publication, vaccination had spread across Europe. Within 20 years, it had reached 5 continents. The Royal Society rejected Jenner's first paper. His observation was too radical to accept without extraordinary evidence. He gathered it. By 1798, he had enough cases to publish privately. The evidence was clear: cowpox inoculation protected against smallpox. The mechanism was unknown. Pasteur would explain it 80 years later, but the protection was real and reproducible. Jenner was not starting from nothing. Lady Mary Wortley Montagu had observed variolation, deliberate infection with mild smallpox material, in Constantinople in 1717 and brought the practice to Britain. Variolation worked but carried risk. About 1 in 50 inoculated people died. Jenner's cowpox vaccine had essentially no risk. He replaced a dangerous practice with a safe one. Variolation had been practiced in China, the Ottoman Empire, and West Africa for centuries before Jenner. Enslaved African men in colonial America taught the practice to their enslavers. Cotton Mather promoted it in Boston during the 1721 smallpox epidemic against fierce opposition. The principle of acquired immunity through exposure was ancient knowledge. Jenner made it safe. Pasteur extended Jenner's principle with a scientific explanation. Germ theory showed why vaccines worked. Exposure to weakened or killed pathogens trained the immune system to recognize and destroy the real organism. By 1885, Pasteur had developed vaccines for chicken cholera, anthrax, and was working on rabies, a disease that was invariably fatal once symptoms appeared. On July 6, 1885, a 9-year-old boy named Joseph Meister arrived at Pasteur's laboratory, having been severely bitten by a rabid dog. Without treatment he would die. Pasteur administered his experimental rabies vaccine over 13 injections across 10 days. Meister lived. The vaccine worked. It was one of the most dramatic moments in medical history. The 20th century became the age of vaccines. BCG against tuberculosis, DPT against diphtheria and pertussis, polio vaccine from Salk and Sabin, measles, mumps, rubella. Each vaccine represented a disease moved from inevitable to preventable. The logic was always Jenner's: show the immune system a safe version before it faces the dangerous one. In 1967, the World Health Organization launched the Intensified Smallpox Eradication Program. Teams tracked every case, isolated patients, and vaccinated all contacts. It was the largest coordinated public health campaign in history, operating in 31 countries, employing 150,000 health workers, administering 2 billion doses. On October 26, 1977, a cook named Ali Malin in Merka, Somalia, became the last person in the world to contract naturally occurring smallpox. He recovered. The disease that had killed 300 million people in a single century was gone. Smallpox remains the only human infectious disease ever to be eradicated. Jenner's 1796 experiment made it possible. The COVID-19 pandemic produced mRNA vaccines in less than a year, a technology that delivers genetic instructions for the immune system to recognize a pathogen. The mechanism is radically different from Jenner's cowpox. The principle is identical: train the immune system before it meets the enemy. Jenner would recognize the logic entirely. From Jenner noticing a milkmaid's protected hands, to inoculating a boy with cowpox, to Pasteur explaining the mechanism, to Joseph Meister surviving rabies, to WHO eradicating smallpox globally. Vaccination is the most successful medical intervention in history, estimated to save 2 to 3 million lives every year. I am Takku. Jenner's greatest discovery came from listening to a milkmaid rather than a textbook. Subscribe to Wisdom of Takku, because humility has always been medicine's sharpest tool.